We're
Okay.
recording.
Okay, so how many times have you done the protocol? I need you to include times you've done it
Okay.
and not finished it.
Okay. I honestly I don't know how many times. I stopped counting. Are you
So,
recording me right now?
say it. Yeah, we are recording.
Oh, okay. I probably at least 12 times. I
Okay.
stopped counting after a while, but a lot of times.
Okay.
And I think for all of them, I finished all of them except for I think maybe one round where I stopped.
Okay,
But
so
all
you
the rest
actually
are done.
did. You've actually done a pretty good job. Most people say I've started so many and I don't even count those.
Mm,
They start and they quit within a week.
yeah. No, I'm pretty good about following rules, and I think this is what my issue is. If you give me rules, I'll follow them, and then once that time is over, then I don't know what to do, and I go chaotic. So you could give me a protocol. I could start it today. I'll be successful. For the most part, for all of my rounds, um, I don't know. I think most of them I've never cheated, or if I cheated, it was with cream instead of milk, that sort of thing.
Okay.
But I followed the rules for the most part, and I've finished it
Do you take a
successfully.
sense of pride in that?
In following rules,
Yes. Is there a sense of like that's do you get
that's a good question. I think so. I think I'm proud of myself that I'm able to follow a program or a plan, and I think I thrive on a plan. I get excited when I'm starting a new plan. It's like a sense of euphoria, like, oh, this is a new one, and I'm like ready to be good now, and because I know I'm going to follow it, and I know I will get results because I get them all the time because I follow them all the time.
cuz
So
you are diligent enough that if you follow diligently, your body will be forced. You will force an outcome.
mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you ever done something diligently like that and it not happen at all for you?
Not that it's not happened at all, but it didn't meet my expectations because I always expect it to be, for example, if I'm doing the protocol, I expect to lose 30 pounds, and if I
Yeah.
lose 20 pounds, I'm upset.
Okay, got it. So, all right. So you do have an idea in your mind of I'm going to work this hard and this is how much that work is worth.
Yes.
This is like when you spend money on something, you're paying for a value. This is the same belief, it's the same thinking. It's like if I'm going to put forth this effort, I am deserving of an equal reward.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're not necessary is when it comes to the human body and physiology and organic nature, does that belief around risk and reward, is it a good thing to apply? Is it a good to apply that to?
No,
Okay.
because time again, I know I cannot control my body or the outcome, yet I continue to try over and over again. And I end up worse off than I was at the beginning every single time.
Yeah, and you know what's crazy is I always give fair warning. I say it doesn't get better. It doesn't get better. It actually just continues to get bigger. Continues to get more controlling. It continues to get and your body gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Would you agree now?
Percent,
It's
100%.
it doesn't get better. It gets worse as you go and it becomes more insane. It becomes more a part of your identity. It becomes more of a detriment to your overall well-being and your sense of well-being because as you become more and more attached to the idea and the behavior around the idea, you lose everything else weakens. It's almost like you only have 100%. So if you're going, if you have 90% going towards this effort, there's only 10% for everything else. So you're getting less of everything else, more of this, and it does become
Yeah.
kind of an obsessive disorder. I don't, gosh, I do not like to use the disorder word. I've got to find a different word for that. But it just becomes saturating in your thoughts and how you feel, and it becomes defining and underlying about how you're evaluating much of everything else in your life. And what we're
I
talking
agree.
about is body image.
Yes.
So, give me a little. So, you've been doing the protocol over a period of 2 years now?
Years.
Okay. And, but you've been dieting since you were a young girl.
Yes.
As soon as you could work, you saved money for diet pills.
Yes.
So, what are we talking? 12 years old? 13 years old?
I was 12. 12. I was mowing the lawn, saved money over the summer, and there weren't diet pills. It was an article I saw in the paper on losing weight, and I honestly I can't remember what it was, but I ordered something, and I don't know how much it was. I saved my money from mowing the lawn to get it, and I had to go and buy yeast or something from the store, and
Okay.
obviously
So
it didn't work.
it was like a program. Okay. So what I want you, so that's the thing you remember. I want you to recall why that became a good resolution for whatever you were dealing with. Why was losing weight? When did that become the solution to whatever feeling was there? I need you to go into what can you go back to that memory?
Yes, I remember actually very clearly. I have a sister who is 2 years older than me, and she got a lot of attention. And where I remember highly that she got a lot of attention was we were living in an apartment building, and we had our landlord lived right across from us. And one day we were in the elevator, and usually at lunchtime every day we would go for lunch, and I would get 2 donuts, and my sister would get fries and gravy every day. We'd get the same thing every day. I'll get the donuts. So we're going up that elevator, and our landlord came in, and she looked at what I was eating, and then she looked at my sister, and then she said, "That's why you look like that. That's why you're chubby." And from then, I noticed that my sister got a lot of attention from my family and from friends and other elders. She was always praised, and it wasn't necessarily for her weight, but she was always praised, and I associated that praise because of how she looked. Then I would also, I started being called little pet names like fatty girl or fatty or chubby or, anything associated with how I looked.
Yeah. And weren't you positively reinforced as the eater in the family too? So you were given positive reinforcement when you would finish a meal, clean your plate. Am I right?
Yeah,
I'm recalling that.
I even remember times when I was not allowed to leave the table unless I ate. And one time I was so sick I even threw up on the plate because I could not eat, but my mom was forcing me to eat.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with that. As much as that would be traumatizing, what you're dealing with actually isn't that. I think what you're really more dealing with, control issues for sure with that, but where you are now has very little to do with that and more to do with a time where you attained a physical look, received positive reinforcement. That was probably more detrimental to you than being called fat.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Getting positive attention for being physically svelte and beautiful, that positive reinforcement, which is what you were seeking, has been much more defining to your behavior today.
I could see that because I think I'm trying to remember how old I was when I lost a lot of weight. I would probably say in high school. When I lost a lot of weight in high school, I was sort of, the quiet. I was always a shy person, very, very shy. And I think when I was like 17, 18, 19, I started to diet again, obviously, and I lost a lot of weight, and it was noticeable. And everybody was telling me, family, friends, "You look so good." And I think I was starting to look like my sister because in my eyes, my sister was perfect. So I've always enjoyed that feeling of actually I felt like I wasn't invincible anymore, And I felt like I became less of a shy person when when I was smaller and thinner versus when I would gain weight. So
Okay.
maybe that could be it.
So when you were thinner, you felt more invincible and more outgoing and more. Is that right? Did I hear that right?
When I was thinner, I felt more, yeah, I felt more outgoing and less shy. And when I was fatter, I felt more invincible and I wanted to hide it. I didn't want to be seen.
Okay, I see what you're saying now. Well, that's understandable too. That hiding part that you're describing, that probably started actually after you lost weight the first time. It probably did not start prior to dieting. Um, because once you lose weight and you get positive reinforcement and you take it on as a truth, like, I am thinner, I am better, I am more, successful, I have more, blah, blah, blah. And then you start gaining weight and you start getting fat. How does that feel?
Then I feel like I'm losing that identity that I had.
You feel like your lie was exposed. It was a lie. You're a liar. That is what it feels like. Am I accurate in that? Am I hitting that on the... okay.
Yep, definitely.
And therefore we hide because you don't want people to know the truth. Okay, the problem is that you judge the truth. And really, I don't even want to say it's you don't want them to know the truth, because the truth is that you're valuable whether you're thin or fat, right? Logically, you're just as valuable now as you were 50 pounds ago. There's nothing different about your character, is there?
No.
You're smiling.
I know, because logically it makes so much sense, and I know this, but
Well, you've
emotionally,
attached emotion. You have actually attached a fight or flight emotion, security, to being thin, value, prestige, success, love. Like you made an assumption about your sister that was so false and so unfair, really. But you made an assumption that because of the way she looked, she was better than you. Better than, less than, right? And you believed it. You believed that thought. And even if that assumption was true in the eyes of your parents, which I doubt seriously, but even if your parents truly did put her on a pedestal and treated you like a slave or, whatever it was they treated you like, you are now no longer 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. You are now an adult with your own children and can reprocess it and understand it a little bit better and at least forgive your parents and let that whole situation go, right? You've done that part?
I thought I have, like, for example, the other day, I was at my parents' house and my dad looked at me and he said, "Look at your arms, look at your butt. Aren't you working out still?" And I took great offense to that. And these are remarks that, my parents just, they say, and they, without thinking. And
Yeah, I was
it
going to say they're not
really,
even thinking. And in
yeah.
his mind, he just wants to encourage you. I mean, he's not saying these things to be an asshole,
Yeah.
you know. When you are leaner and thinner, they positively encourage you, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of that is just because they want you to be healthy and happy. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, because when I've gained weight or I'm bigger, I'm more quiet. I don't do anything. I
And
stay
they
at
know
home.
there's something wrong. How would you feel? Think about how you are when you feel that way about yourself and how your parents feel knowing that you feel that way about yourself. What are they more concerned with? Your weight or the fact that you are really down inside?
I always associated that they just care about the weight because they never ask me what's wrong. Because usually if I've gained weight, that means something's eating me. and I'm turning to food to heal that wound or to soothe myself.
Is that a sensitive subject
It
for
is.
them? Like they got to tiptoe around it.
For them, no, not at all. For me, it is, and I think because I've been angry with them many times, it's not a subject that we talk about at all.
Yeah.
And I do find my parents are very old school and they're very insensitive when it comes to that.
Okay. Okay. And you can get over that, right? Because they're not going to change.
No, they're not going to change.
So you can just be like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
I tried.
You know, every child tries. Just so you know. We all do. And this is part of evolution. Your daughter is going to try with you with something. Yeah. And you know what? You ultimately can accept that as a mother and just ask for forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask for forgiveness now. I'm constantly telling my kids, please forgive me. I suck right now. I just suck.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to get it, and I probably won't change at some point, and you'll find out later that I'm not going to change, and you're going to have to accept me as the crazy mom. So anyhow, I don't even think this is your parents at this point. I really don't. I have a sense that this has more to do with you and your body than it has to do with anybody else's opinion about it. Because wouldn't you agree, you really don't give a shit what anybody thinks?
No. I'm my worst critic.
Okay, now, so we can eliminate all that other baggage. You can just set the baggage down and move forward. That makes this much more simple. So you don't have to resolve any issues. You can love unconditionally, and even if someone's a total prick.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean you're enabling a prick. It just means, you know what I'm saying? You don't need to fight back. Okay, so now, this is so simple. I know you know it is simple, but it actually is that simple. Tell me this. Your biggest issue is how you feel about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And the most influential part of the equation is the way you look.
No, that makes sense.
Am I right or wrong?
Yep.
How you are seen, your eyeballs, right? How you see yourself physically is bigger than 80%. What percentage of your sense of value comes from your weight and size?
Almost all of it.
Okay, I was going to say it's got to be more than 80, cuz it's got to be to 90, cuz you don't binge unless you have that equal amount of guilt and shame about your body.
Mm-hmm.
It just, it doesn't happen otherwise. So what I've got to try to convince you to do, to be honest with you, is can you find an alternative way to feel good about yourself that isn't founded on your looks? If you find an alternative,
Mm-hmm.
this is over. Now, preferably the alternative isn't necessarily another superficial sight issue or even an achievement issue. You know, some people don't have 90% of their thoughts going towards the way they look. They have 90% of their thoughts going towards how much money they can make. They have 90% going towards church. 90% going towards, sex or education, or, that's constantly in their heads, how they can get smarter, how they can get prettier, how they can make more money, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
We
Yeah.
don't want you to find an alternative that way because you don't really fix the issue. The alternative I'm suggesting is, can you use your soul as that foundation? Now, I say soul, and it's kind of like, what is this, like, spirity, soul-y? What I'm really describing is your true character.
Right.
Wouldn't you say that should be the most important part of someone's value, how they value themselves, is first and foremost their character. And the desire to express that character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree 100% because, when I look at other people, I don't look at what they look like, what their shape is, what their size is. I look at that person for who they are and their personality. And I don't know why my eyes can't look at myself in that same way, because I feel people are looking at me the way I look at myself. So if I'm not comfortable with how I look, I have to hide it so other people won't see, because I feel shame.
Yeah, for sure. That's how that works. You make the assumption that people are evaluating you for your body.
Yeah.
And that's not true. But it doesn't matter. Your brain has been hijacked by this belief system, by the belief around the physique. And I hate to break it to you, but everybody's critiquing themselves and you. I mean, you can't get away from failure. Majority of people don't care. They're so much more concerned about themselves, that they really don't care what you look like. But ultimately, you're going to get criticized by some asshole out there who is kind of the reverse disorder. He thinks the narcissists out there that want to find someone who's weak and pliable.
Yeah.
The thing is that you're really not weak and pliable, are you? Your issue is the reverse. I mean, you've got kind of a battery situation here. One side you're weak and pliable, and the other side you're super controlling and rigid. Does that make sense? The insecurity, the compensation.
Yeah.
It's
like all or the nothing. I'm so black and white.
Well, part of that is obviously coming from a sense of insecurity and then an attempt to find security. A sense of insecurity and the attempt to find security. And it's in a direct proportion to the insecurity. How insecure you are with your true character is how intensely you control. Okay, you're not going to, if you feel really secure in yourself, you wouldn't have this much obsession over exercise, dieting, and weight. Am I correct?
Definitely.
You wouldn't. You would be more balanced it would be a more balanced decision and behavior, that you wouldn't take on so much emotion. If you were intrinsically confident about who you were and felt really good about it, and that was the foundation for how you felt about yourself, would your body be such a detriment?
No.
It wouldn't, because you have such a solid foundation. The body becomes an asset. It doesn't become a detriment. You're going to then, so the whole frame of mind, same body, same job, same everything, same protocol, everything takes on a different meaning. There's less emotion behind, what your parameters, and there's less parameters in general around, because you're not compensating for anything. What you do isn't driven by a desire for approval. If you can approve of yourself, give yourself an A+ grade. Approval, you've already met the expectation. right? You are already worthy. You know what? Tell me this. When you look at your child, does she need to prove and improve upon herself? Does she really need to go get an education to make herself a better person? Does she need to go to church to be a better person? Does she need... No, she's already worthy.
Mm-hmm.
Already. She's... Wouldn't you agree? You're born. You are born worthy. You are here. You made it. You are worthy of it.
Mm-hmm.
Am I correct?
Definitely.
So what you've lost touch with is what makes you worthy. That what is it? I don't know if you even have a sense of it anymore. And that might be the problem. That I'm saying this and you're like, I would love to be able, this is something I hear and I love it and I see this in other people. But when it comes to you, you've lost your sense.
Mm-hmm.
You've taken on a very, very, you're like an expert at your body. Now, you're not an expert at how it functions and how it's here and how it's working. You're just an expert on how it looks.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really. You're really an expert about it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a very clear feeling I'm getting.
Yeah.
That has become what you feel is your soul.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say, when I say your soul, you're thinking like, what is it, my stomach? Is it my, am I right? Are you having a...
No, when you say soul, I understand it. Soul means who you are as a person, not the package that you have, but who you are, regardless of if I'm 200 pounds or 100 pounds. It's just who you are.
Okay, so I want to give you this scenario. Let's say we put your soul, your spirit, your character, right? We put it in a Hispanic body. What changes?
Nothing.
Okay, but I need you to think about that for a second. What would that do to this belief disorder you have?
That the body that I have has nothing to do with who I am.
No, but if I put your soul into, let's say, a Hispanic body,
Mm-hmm.
would you change this? Would this disorder change for you? Would it be forced to change if I put you in a different body? What would happen?
Probably the same thing.
Yeah, because you're still taking on the belief that there's your body, whatever body and make it is. But don't you agree your parameters would have to change?
Right. Depending on what that body was like.
So you'd have to, what would you start to look for? You'd try to find out what everybody's standards were? Because you've got to research the standard to know how to apply it.
I would say so, yes, because
Okay.
in my mind, I have right now what if I looked a certain way, I would feel better that way.
Okay, when you looked at that way, did you feel better?
No.
I know. It's hilarious.
Physically, I felt better, but emotionally, it was the same because I was still dieting and I was miserable.
Well, it was the same. You're chasing a shadow. It doesn't matter. You're never going to get there because the belief is that you suck in this body. This body sucks. So no matter what you do, the belief is that it sucks and it will always suck no matter what. Mm-hmm. You've attained your goal and you still didn't like it. Mm-hmm. And if you did like it, you treated it as if it was still sinning. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't.
I don't think I've never been at any goal that I was comfortable. Okay, I'm comfortable. I was never happy. I always wanted something better.
Yeah, well, and if you hit your goal, you still want something better, but you become even more restrictive and more insane just trying to maintain it. So your risk of compensating for that restriction skyrockets. So you're more likely to binge. You're more likely to then, you become like just a ticking time bomb. The tighter you get around your controls, the more vulnerable you are to exploding.
Yeah.
Okay? Pressure builds. The tighter
Mm-hmm.
you constrain, the pressure's increasing.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And it's happened every single time.
Yeah, and where is the flaw? I mean, so when we're looking at this picture, where is the flaw? Is it your body? Is it your body's fault?
Not at all.
Is it food? Is it food's fault? Is it all based around the chemistry of the food?
No.
The underlying issue has more to do with your judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And what creates judgment? In order
Emotion.
to judge anything in the world, a car, a body, a car, a house, decorating, anything. In order to have a judgment, what does that require?
I have to define it with some sort of
Thank
value
you.
attached to it.
You got it. You have to have a parameter. You have to have specific details that you're judging it by, a comparison.
Mm-hmm.
You have this image in your head that isn't even physical. It's an emotion. Chances are when you think of that body, the imagery in your mind, what you've attached to the imagery is a feeling of freedom. It's almost like it's that feeling of what you thought your sister had,
Mm-hmm.
which was something untouchable, maybe. Like it was a feeling of, yeah, I get a real sense of it's not even, it's like a worthiness. I don't know how to describe
Yeah,
this.
like I think it's a feeling of accomplishments and feeling that I'm enough is like by nature I'm a go-getter and I'm determined
Okay.
and I keep pushing and pushing and pushing and I feel like this is the one part of my life I cannot achieve
Okay.
or I cannot achieve it for.
I need you to describe the feelings that you felt that your sister had when you were a child. When the first time you started observing her and you thought, "Oh, she's got it and I don't." I want you to describe those feelings as if you're there in childhood. And you're
Um,
looking at her and you're seeing this attention. Remember you said you made these assumptions about it?
mhm.
How would you describe her in
Almost like
relation to this issue?
probably praise that she got. She was praised. Attention, almost like you're placed on a pedestal.
Okay, that's what
Um,
I was trying to describe as the pedestal. I couldn't pull that word out. Like she's worthy, she's
yeah,
accomplished, she's
yeah. Mm-hmm.
okay, that feeling is why you're seeking those feelings.
Mm.
Have you considered that?
No.
Is this ringing a bell? Like when you have that image of that body in your mind of what you need, why you're driven to that physique is because you think you're going to achieve that pedestal,
Mm-hmm.
that praise, that accomplishment. All of a sudden there's going to be pride and joy. It's like it's like when people go to school and they go to college and they graduate and they're like, and now what, right?
Yeah.
I get a sense that that's a big part of the drive here.
Mm-hmm.
It's this equality. Do you feel, ooh, I'm also getting a real clear sense of resentment, inequality, a lot of bitterness, almost like, fuckers
Mm-hmm.
type of feeling. I'm really getting that pretty intense.
Yeah.
And that's almost a way of fighting for, I'm on a pedestal too, and I'm going to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
But the whole point of that game is insecurity. Why do you have to prove anything? Does your daughter need to prove anything?
No.
Okay, do you really need to prove anything at this point?
No.
So, if you don't need to prove anything, Could you even imagine that? Because you're saying it, but honestly, do you really need to prove anything to anybody at this point in your life?
No.
Now, what do you need to prove to yourself?
That's the thing. I feel like I need to prove it to myself that I could lose my weight and
I
maintain
knew
my
that was
weight.
coming. That's the wrong proof you're looking for.
Yeah.
You need to prove to yourself, because what you're saying is, I will give myself approval when I actually lose weight.
Yeah.
You've never done it. I mean, you've
No.
done it, but you never gave yourself approval. You did it, and you didn't give yourself approval.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, but you do it, and then there's how much, when you actually find this level of accomplishment and there's no approval, doesn't it feel?
Why am I here?
Yeah, and then comes the sabotage. That's an easy way to then sabotage. An easy reason, if there's any temptation at all, that's a great reason to binge, especially when you can diet it off later.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you agree? It's not even working. I don't feel any better. What do I do? And I can't even maintain this. This is too intense. I mean, it's just because it's not realistic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Don't you think the behavior around trying to maintain whatever losses you've had, the behavior you've done to continue to lose weight has been above and beyond what was necessary?
Yeah.
So that in itself created this feeling of
The
bitter.
buckets.
Mm-hmm.
All
And
set.
so then you're doomed to sabotage and say, screw it. I'm going to go ahead and eat what I want. I don't care about these for now because I can diet later. You would never do it if there wasn't a diet to back it up.
Yeah.
Am I? Okay. So you need to give yourself approval today. You have nothing to prove. You need to have a self-fulfilling pride that doesn't come from any form of accomplishment out here in this world. And I don't know if you've ever really done that for yourself.
No.
And to do that, what you're going to have to do is sit with yourself and really think about what makes you approvable right now. Because if you can't have approval with yourself right now, what makes you think that any accomplishment you have in this life will give you that sense of approval? Think about it. There's no satisfaction.
That's true.
If you could be satisfied right now with this body at this weight in this size and shape, if you could actually be satisfied, what do you think would happen with your behavior around food?
It'll totally change.
Like, it wouldn't it? Because there wouldn't be this game with it. You wouldn't be juggling. It's like you have these arms and you have this body and you're juggling extreme rigidity and extreme liberty, right? There's the control and then there's the freedom, and you're juggling it back and forth, back and forth. It goes back and forth, and they work together. You'd set those two balls down and walk away. Because why would you do that? Why would you juggle these balls if you were completely good?
Yeah.
Am I right or wrong?
Yeah, I'm thinking about it because you're right. When I try to lose weight because I want to say, yes, you did it. Okay, you're enough.